Okay. I'm here at the office of Dr. Rebeca Fernandez, who's the wife of Alberto Fernandez, and his daughter is Yanel Martinez. And we interviewed her a couple of days ago as well. Rebecca, if you could give us your early childhood, your background, and so if you could talk a little bit about that.
I was born in Havana, Cuba, and I was raised in a traditional Catholic family, and I came to the United States as an exile at 18 years of age, going away from the communism, and I went to New Orleans, Louisiana, and in 19 I started the LSU, the University of Louisiana, and I finished at 22 with a bachelor in pre-med in zoology, biology, and then I went to I work as a respiratory therapist, and I went to the University of Chicago to finish my studies in respiratory therapies, and then I work in New Orleans and in Miami for 15 years as a critical ICU respiratory therapist and a cardiopulmonary specialist there, working with critical patients and a rehab for pulmonary patients. While out there, I was studying in Miami. I came to Miami and I studied my master's in community counseling, and then I went to Alberto University to study my doctorate in clinical psychology, and I have been in private practice for over 25 years.
Okay, so you're a PhD in clinical psychology, and you have your private practice that you have for 25 years,
right.
And we're actually in your office now.
Yes.
Okay, and so in terms of your background with any ETs or UFOs or contact or things like that forth, up until you had your PhD, you never had any of these experiences?
No, I was always, since I was a little girl, I was always fascinated with the Martians and all that in those times, you know.
Okay.
But never being interested in the theme whatsoever.
Okay. So you married Alberto what year, more or less?
I married Alberto, I met him in 1983, and we married in 1984.
Okay, you married in 1984. And then let's sort of jumpstart to when was the first experience that you had with this phenomenon. If you could start, talking about that.
We went to Dominican Republic, and he was injured in the line of duty.
And he worked as an
worked as a
attaché.
As a attaché in the DEA.
DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration.
Right.
For the U.S. government.
Right. And we returned to Miami. And when we returned to Miami, we had the first experience, or at the hotel, the Sofitel Hotel.
Okay, so it's a very large hotel.
Right.
Next to the airport.
Right.
Okay.
We were in a penthouse. The government assigned us there to a penthouse because our house that we left here was being remodeled and it was not ready. And since he was hurt in the line of duty, he was waiting for some medical results.
Okay, so you were stationed, you were living in a hotel, which is a penthouse.
Yes,
in this this very large hotel,
right
next to Miami Airport, and it was the penthouse.
Right, it was a corner.
Okay, a corner, so I'm assuming there were a lot of windows all around.
That was all windows all around.
All windows all around, okay. And then if you could give us a little history of what happened.
One night, the windows started shaking, and the alarm sounds and all the beepers. At that time, there were beepers. There were no cellulars that start vibrating. My baby was in a little crib.
This is Yanel.
Yanel. She was like a year old, and we thought it was like an alarm because there was a fire or something.
Okay.
We went outside. We called the security.
And it was just your room or the whole building?
The whole aisle.
The whole floor?
The whole floor, right.
The alarms ran off?
Because the alarms were next to the door.
Okay.
We were in the corner.
Okay.
And they came, and I guess it was a false alarm. We went back to the room. The baby never woke up.
And what time was this?
I think it was at night, 11 or something.
11 o'clock at night.
Remember.
And do you remember what year that was? That was 1987?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1987. Okay.
Yeah. And then the windows vibrated even more.
Even more. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Once you got back inside the room.
Right.
Okay.
I remember it was interesting that a friend of Albert called at that time, and he said, "Why are you calling me at this time?" And he said, I never call you.
Okay.
So it was interesting. So it was some kind of synchronicity there. So at that moment, I'm very hyper and I'm very excited about that. And
Because the windows were rattling.
yeah, I mean, really, really, like, but
Like almost like it was going to explode or something?
yes, right.
Okay.
And I was very excited, and then suddenly I went to bed. Something like pushed me down like that, and I went to sleep.
And you went to sleep.
And after that is the next morning is when Albert tells me the story that happened. He was telling me that someone was there, and it was a woman, and she had big eyes, and it was like a gray and long fingers, and he had the entity had pupils. He was not able to see, and when we went outside to the street, he was able to see the aura of people. The light was very intense on him.
So he saw the aura of individuals the following day.
Right.
Now, when he was telling you this, what were you thinking?
It was weird because I never experienced anything like that, and I mean, he told me that if he was crazy, and well, I knew he wasn't crazy, but this was kind of weird.
Okay, and by that time, were you already a PhD, or before you studied for your PhD in 1987?
Yes, I graduated in May of '87. Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you had just gotten your PhD in psychology.
Because I did my dissertation overseas.
Overseas, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you came back, you had just finished your dissertation,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden your husband's acting like a crazy fellow there.
That's right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if you could take us through the next event.
Well, I remember the event where he told me that he had conjunctivitis, and I don't quite remember. And we went to Dr. Einhorn, right here in the corner, and Dr. Einhorn saw a triangle in each eye.
Okay, there was like a triangle that was cut into each eye.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you were there when the doctor said that?
Yes, I was there.
You were there?
I was there.
Okay.
And he asked him, were you exposed to a very intense light? And we looked at each other and we said, no, this guy's going to think we're crazy.
Okay.
But that's what it was. And after that, all this phenomena start
accelerating?
Yes.
Okay.
Completely.
Completely accelerating every day.
When we move into the house, finally we move into the house, then all weird things.
Okay, so let's start.
Happening.
Let's start. You went to the Dr. Einhorn, and with the lights, and then take us from the next thing that you can
every night. I remember at that time, I don't know where I put this information, but I remember at that time, every night he had some experience, and I will take a pad and I will write
What he told you.
You know, what he told me, and then I will ask him to ask them.
Okay.
What were they there? Where are they coming from? You know, what was the purpose? What were they doing?
Do you have any of those notes? Have you kept those?
I don't know if I kept it or I lost it, or maybe inside a book. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look for it, because in all this year we never recorded.
No, talk. You could talk, Alberto.
Equations, all the math. That was telling you all the math.
Oh yeah, the math. You know, equations and he will ask me like, what is this? They're putting. The funny part is that he doesn't have to go into deep regression or hypnosis.
He's
nothing.
never been regressed.
No.
No.
He can see things with his eyes open in beta, you know?
Okay.
Like, he doesn't have to go to alpha to experience or see any of these things.
So he's never been hypnotized?
No.
Or regressed?
When his eyes are open, he could see all the things, and they were going and you
okay.
know.
So, take me through some of these experiences.
The room will be with a smoke.
Okay.
And
smoke in the room.
There were lights all over the ceiling.
Room. Okay.
And
Now, have you ever seen these things, or it's just him?
No, I've seen it.
Oh, you've seen it. Oh, okay, that's the confusion.
I've seen
Okay.
it.
What I want from you is like what you have experienced, not what Alberto has told you.
Okay.
Things that you have experienced.
Okay.
Okay. So now you're saying that there were many times you've seen lights in your house.
No, not many times, but
Okay.
sometimes.
Okay.
I think
How many
they're
times?
selective.
Okay.
But one time I remember I was jumping in the. It gives you like happiness. I wasn't scared.
Okay.
I was never scared. I was jumping in the bed because all the ceilings was filled with like a disco place with lights.
Okay.
You know,
So
red and blue and green and
like orbs, like little balls.
like little balls of light.
Little balls of light.
Yeah.
So your whole bedroom, was it your bedroom, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was filled with all these disco lights,
Yeah,
little orbs
yeah,
floating around.
Right.
And so you were happy,
Yeah, I was happy.
and you were jumping in the sea,
yeah, and I don't know why.
jumping in your bed.
Right, and I don't know why.
You don't know why you did it. You just did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a nice feeling.
Well, tell me from the beginning
At
to that story. Tell me a little bit more.
We didn't know anything.
Okay.
I mean, actually, I don't even remember how we started researching. I did remember that the first time we went to the Mall of the America, just the mall, and just a bookstore. And right there, this book comes out of the nowhere. A normal bookstore, not an esoteric bookstore,
Yeah.
nothing. And it was Communing.
Communing by Whitley Strieber.
So he got the book and he started looking at it and he says, look, this is what I saw. Look, this is what I saw. We've never seen that.
So you never had read anything about this?
No, nothing at all.
Okay.
Nothing at all. And so we start asking, calling people. I remember that he would go every day. After that time, he would go every day to bookstores and he will get books and books, like he was obsessed, you know, books and books and books, and then looking for what the heck happened to him. And we were looking for a place so we could go to see, you know, this was a crazy thing that happened to only one person or somebody else had this experience. So finally, I remember my refrigerator filled with little stickies, you know, of places and someone that could answer, someone that could talk to us. Finally, some Colombian lady was able to direct us to Ana Maria Quiñones, who had Contacto 12. And she gave me her phone number, so when I called her, Ana Maria
This is here in Miami.
Here in Miami. It's the Contact 12.
Contact 12 is the name in English, yeah.
You know? And we're talking about 30, no, not 30, 20.
1987.
Yeah, right.
The same year.
So I called and I said, look, I'm sorry to call you, but you know, my husband had some weird experience, and I remember she said, have you ever been exposed, or have you ever been reading, or do you know anything about esoteric? And I said, what is that? So, I mean, I was completely neophyte. I was like, we didn't know a thing. And
Okay.
she said, you don't know what that is? I said, no. I said, come tonight to a meeting that we have. And she gave me the address, and we went there. And from there, we start realizing that we were, I mean, like, he was not the only one
Okay.
experiencing this weird thing.
Okay.
Now, my question to them was, like, why they here, you know. But some of the times there was no answer, you know.
Okay.
Like, we didn't know why these things were happening
Yeah.
at that time.
Now, take me through some of the experiences you saw. You talked about that night in the hotel where you were like knocked out,
Mhm.
where instead of, you know, staying awake and trying to protect your daughter,
Right.
right, with all that, you just were knocked out.
And the funny part is that my daughter, being 1 year old, she was sound asleep and she didn't even move from her little crib.
Okay.
It was very strange.
So then the next thing you remember,
Because we were screaming, we were, you know.
yeah, you were screaming, you were, it was a very
we
nervous
were-
situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now the next situation that you told me is that you saw all these disco orbs, these lights,
Yeah.
floating all around your bed, on top of your bed, right?
Right.
And it was like a discotheque. And then you, without knowing why, you started jumping on the bed up and down
Right.
in happiness, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I told you it was a UFO outside.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Because sometimes I don't see things.
Okay.
And then he told me that there was a spaceship
Outside. Okay.
Yeah.
So Alberto that night told you that there was a spaceship outside that he had seen.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Take me now. Move forward. Okay. You saw these lights in the bedroom. What is the next thing that you remembered that you saw? These are things about you.
Make me scared, fog. Pulling me out.
Every night he
Yeah.
had some kind of experience.
Okay.
Sometimes I would be sleeping in my side and I would be seeing him vibrating, and I could feel it. I woke up because
Okay.
he was vibrating.
He was vibrating. What do you mean by shaking? Like as if he's cold?
Shaking, but in a very regular way.
Okay.
Like a motor.
Like a motor. Okay.
But perfectly.
Okay.
It was not like when you shake like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
It was perfect. It was perfect
Yeah.
synchronization. It was
Yeah.
perfect.
Shaking throughout his whole body.
His whole body was vibrating.
And how many times did you see that?
That was every night.
Every night. For how long?
For a long time.
For years?
For a long time.
For a long time.
For a long
Years.
time.
Years?
Sometimes I woke him up, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wanted to wait and see what happened.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes he would wake up very, very scared.
Okay.
Like if he was really in a state of panic.
Okay.
Because he didn't know what was happening. One of the time he told me that they were pushing him because they wanted to take him out.
Okay. They want to take him
And it
out of
was
his
like,
body.
like this, you know, physically.
Okay.
They wanted to take him out,
Okay.
you know, until, you know, he calmed down, and then
Okay.
really
And that went on for
happened.
years, almost on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at that time, were you giving him any counseling or any therapy, or I mean, what was your reaction to all of this?
Actually, I realized that there was a very big difference between someone that is clinically ill
Yeah.
and someone that is experiencing this phenomenon.
Okay. So you already learned that already.
Yes, I
Okay.
learned a lot
Okay.
because he was able to function perfectly in all the areas in his life. The work, everything was perfect. So I mean, only in that area. So it was obvious that it was something that it was supernatural that was
Okay.
happening.
Okay. The mist. You talked about mist.
Mhm.
Okay, like fog and things like that. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
I don't know what to say.
You saw it?
You know, it was like a fog. That
Was it just one time or several times?
I don't recall how many times I saw